Board games, board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games and LARP, I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off the streaming with a little bit of singing, and here dancing with me is the person called LolV. LolV's going to be talking about safety in LARPs and maybe building empathy.
Yes.
Maybe because LARPs are about all kinds, and it is good to remind that the player is more important than any single game. And also the designer and every other individual. Board games and LARP, it's what we're talking about. Board games and LARP, I'm not gonna shout. Hey.
Shout. Yay.
Oh, it is. I don't know who this is. It's either Tony or Alan, I'm assuming. Good morning, Surprise Terror Games. I like how you've
Hello.
got a red banner there. And good morning, Alex. And another Alan, Alton. And Xate, and it is apparently Alan. Did you make that red specially? No, it's not going to be. I wonder if is that red just because of my branding, because it's a semi-transparent ping? Is that what's going on? Because it's kind of white in the thing, but that's really cool. Sorry, I'm slightly distracted. But um, yeah, do you see what's going on? It's like I think it's a semi-transparent ping, so it's like white when I see it in the chat, but then it's red as soon as we pop it up. But anyway, I am Bez. Here with me is LolV. In some countries, it is bedtime, and we are blethering about board games. And today we are going to be talking about safety in live action role playings with the wonderful LolV. Thank you very much for coming here. I'm delighted to have you. And to start us off, before we get into the main topic, we've not actually talked about this, but I think we should talk about a brilliant thing. Brilliant thing.
Brilliant
What's a
song.
little thing which is brilliant?
Brilliant.
I mean, do you have something to suggest? Because looking over, I quite like. Can I pick the thing today? Is that okay?
Yes, please do.
I really like spiral bound notebooks. I mean, look, you can flip an entire thing over and then you can just write it and hold it like this. You don't need to worry about in a real book where you've kind of got to open it. You can't turn it all the way, do you know what I mean? Or else the book will break. But here you're just flipping it around and it's convenient to hold. And then you can draw on it and use the same back of the book. If you're drawing on it or writing, you don't even need to have a table for your support. It's really convenient in the train. And oh my gosh, spiral bound stuff. It's just, and then you can keep it open forever. Like if you're using it as a diary, you could be like, okay, this is the page, I'm keeping it open. I'm not even going to close it. I'm just putting it down on my table. Spiral bound stuff. That is pretty brilliant. Anyway, so now we're talking about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights.
Sing the
Games,
sights.
games, games, games. What are we playing? What are their names? I decided after yesterday to combine these into one section, and I would like to chat about recent highlights. And for me, one recent highlight was I did a bit of cycling, and then I wasn't sure if I should, but I did get another bubble tea because I was feeling like really exhausted and I needed to pick me up. And I bought this, what they call the Snow White bubble tea. So this is coconut mixed with winter melon, mixed with green apple popping jelly. That was lovely. The other highlight, as much as it is a kind of, I think, the decision that we made together, just to not write a thing, whilst it is a sad thing, and I'm very sorry. Basically, there was a LARP that was trying to write, which was kind of I guess, a black comedy, but it dealt with mental health. And so for me, towing that line was incredibly difficult. And ultimately, I don't feel able to do it right now. And now I've just come out and said it, and that's the situation. And I chatted about this with LolV for a long time. I chatted about it very briefly with Layla before we played some games, and then we ate popcorn, which was lovely. And then I sent off my message to Laura this morning, and also something to Peter, because I think that I just need to take care of myself, which ties into the main theme. And if anyone cares, the games that we were playing were Kitty Cataclysm. We played that about 3 times and I won, and we played Happy Pigs, which continue to enjoy somewhat. It's reasonable game. I'm not going to. It feels a little bit like the game is quite scripted. Like you need to follow the plan of, okay, this is how you get your things. Otherwise, you will lose. But it was a nice game. It was a lovely experience, and it was lovely hanging out with Layla. I shouldn't even get into the commentary on the games, but that is my recent highlights, and I will show up some photos if that's okay, whilst you share your recent highlights, LolV.
Yeah, my recent highlight is I'm finally home after a month that I spent either helping my parent or helping my grandma. And while it was lovely to stay with my family and spend time with them, I needed my alone time very much and my own environment. So I'm very glad to be back at home, well, in my flat with my roommate. And my other recent highlight is since I'm at home, I'm in the position to do roller skating that I love very much. Everybody on this show knows that I absolutely love roller skating, the wind in my hair, just navigating through the city on my roller skate, feeling like a badass. This is my recent highlight.
That does sound pretty awesome, and just going at speed. I see that Alan Outson says that indeed these can be good for storing pens in. If it's big enough, you can put the pen in inside, which you can't do here, but you can clip it on, just like that. It's not a bad way, but I would caution people to just watch out that things can go wrong if you're putting it in a pannier on the side of your bicycle, because there's a lot of motion, things can get knocked off. I don't know why I'm talking about this. I think that we should stop these tangents. Apparently, there we go. Did it? Oh, yeah, I get the joke. Very nice. There was only one type of bubble. On a rim. Oof, that's a good. It did definitely make me happy, and it did not make me sleepy or dozy, or sneezy. So I guess it was just happy, and not at all grumpy. And apparently, Xate says you're very well lit today, and it's nice to see you, more of you. And finally, I just want to share that this is, go to my Twitter if you want to see these in more detail, but this is on a morning walk where I was chatting to my dad, which was lovely to speak to them. This was my brunch yesterday. Like what I ate after the stream was some noodles and with a bit of egg. Had a bit of a cycle, as you can see. That's the bubble tea. And we had popcorn, which was amazing. And Layla is able to make their own popcorn. And this is a shot of Happy Pigs, where pigs are supposedly happy, but you really need to, squeeze them all together. And to be honest, if I was one of those pigs, I don't know if I would be happy. I'm just saying. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of. Anyway, so. And Xate got to play real life games. Amazing. Trails of Toscana, Patchwork, and Cartographers. That sounds like a lovely experience. and I'm happy that you're having good times. Now, as we finish up the intro, let me remind people to. Oh, maybe I should do the questionably quick questions first. I'm changing it around. Okay, let's do the questionably quick questions.
Quick question.
So, when did you wake up?
At 9
Did
French
you have
time.
breakfast?
So yes.
What did you eat?
Uh, Vegan mango yogurt and
Ooh.
tea.
So, what's the last thing you ate or drank whilst playing a game?
Tea while playing, while opening and looking through the rule of Kitty Cataclysm with my girlfriend.
Ooh. Oh, I hope you enjoy it very much. And
Yeah,
if we and do you ride motorcycles?
no, I don't even have a driver license yet.
Okay, so that concludes our questionably quick questions, which today were very quick.
Quick, indeed, very quick.
So, yeah,
Aquacilis did. Aquacilis said they did motorcycle training courses.
yeah, congratulations. And yeah, that's actually the inspiration between me asking if you ride motorcycles. Charlie and Alan played face to face with Jonathan and Lucy. Lovely. And um, yay. And well done. So let me remind you as we get to our main topic to please comment, ask questions, thumb like, and follow. Um, all I don't know the all respectful questions. Let's put it that way. All respectful questions are appreciated. Now, today I'm talking with LolV Peregrin Lacave. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes, perfectly.
About safety in LARP. Now, last time you were on, we decided that what LARP is basically is when there's a one-to-one analog between what you're doing and what your character is doing. So if you speak, your character speaks, and you don't say, I am doing this, you just do it. And so we've established what LARP is. Freeform is a kind of LARP. There can be things where there is a bit of LARP intermingled with a bit of character commentary. But whatever you're doing, it is imperative to have safety. Can you start off by explaining um, what safety is?
Uh, this is a very large question that I will try to answer.
Well, we've
So,
got an hour.
yeah, safety in LARP mean a multiple thing. It is a multi-sided question, multi-sided matter and subject. It is safety from being armed physically while you play, like being aware that you shouldn't run down the stair, that this part of the castle is slippery and you should avoid it, that the ceiling is a bit low, so that when you enact physical violence between players or simulate physical violence, you don't actually hurt the person. This is safety. This is like the base of physical safety. But safety in LARP means so much more and is so much more. It's about building a community of care and trust. Like safety find its foundation in how community handle it and how we build a space that is as safe during the LARP as a community is, saying it's okay to be vulnerable together and it's even encouraged to be vulnerable together. And in order to be vulnerable together, people has to know that they will be taken care of when they are vulnerable, or that they will be taken care of if someone plays something that can hurt them mentally or emotionally. But also
Hmm.
saying to people who want to play, uh, let's say, more assertive kind of play, it's okay to do so as long as you calibrate and negotiate those kind of play with the other parties. So this is about building community, because the space is, you can't build a safe space if you don't build a safe community, and this community is only as safe as the world is around. So if you don't take into account, for example, when building a community, the fact that the people being in the community will be largely diverse and encounter diverse type, for example, of oppression in the outside world, outside the community, you cannot enact safety truly if you don't take that into account. That no, people don't come here with the same experience. This is, I don't know if I'm being clear or if I'm just being.
So let me try to paraphrase what you're saying. So, like in a LARP, it's fine for someone to punch you in the fiction of the story because we want to play LARPs about that might incorporate violence, for example. So there needs to be a situation where you feel like your character is being punched, but your physical person is not actually being punched. I mean, for a very crude example, that is safety.
Yeah.
And then, but it's not just about keeping that distance, it's also about ensuring that even when we talk about emotionally difficult things, even when we talk about bereavement, even when we talk about, xenophobia or all sorts of other horrible things, that people are feeling okay because yeah, and it's I guess it's about making sure that the player is okay because the player is a different entity to the character, even though at times there can be a lot of what we called bleed.
Yes. To get into the specific, most labs that agree to use a code of conduct, for example, and safety policy, have put into place several policies such as, and guidelines such as, when you are playing on, for example, physical violence or any kind of touch, you need to calibrate between each other. Can I touch you there? How soft or tight do you want me to hold you? And stuff like that. So you need to negotiate and calibrate between the player this kind of interaction before or during the scene. So
Mm.
that could, some people will find that it will break immersion, but it is better to break immersion to negotiate this kind of play discreetly than having to deal with someone having a mental or physical breakdown. Also,
Absolutely.
the same guideline often use the fact that the recipe of the violence, the spell, the interaction will decide the effect. So, for example, if I'm playing with someone else, physical act where the person will punch me, I will decide if I fall on the side or my nose is bleeding, or actually you didn't punch me that hard and I'm okay. We negotiate between us, and I decide as a recipe how much effect this action take. It can be one of the guideline around physical violence, for example.
And so I think this is an important thing that you talked about, and Alan mentioned that yes, you need to agree the physical contact, but it's also about agreement of what the tone would be. It's about using, you know, saying, okay, this is where the limit is. And I think sometimes when you know where the limit is, that allows you to explore the rest of the space with more freedom. Can I
Yes,
share?
exactly.
I'd like to share a little story if that's okay. So I went
Yes.
to a party with friends who I've not been in touch with for quite some time. Um, but anyway, so they hosted a party, and on some of the doors or on some of the cupboards, it had these signs that said, "Please do not open this cupboard. Please do not go through this door." Now, afterwards, I thanked them for that, and they said, "Oh, I was worried that that would seem too standoffish." And I said, "No, for me at least, it was the opposite, because by virtue of them saying, 'Hey, don't go into this person's bedroom. This is not where the party is. Hey, don't go into this cupboard.'" But they had told us up front that if there's not a label on something, you can use it. You're free to use the oven. You're free to open the other cupboards for the, you know, glasses and stuff. You're free to have the other drinks that are on the table. You're free to have all the other snacks, and you're free to use the rest of the space. You're free to go into the shower if you need to. And so it was like, okay, that is by clarifying this is the limit, this is where we should not venture. It means that when you know that this is where it's okay to venture, once everyone has given their consent, and I guess it all comes down to consent. I mean, whether it's, yeah, that's like the key word, I guess, could be the key word for today. But yeah, then you're like, okay, within this space, we are free to explore this. Because if you are not sure, is everyone okay with talking about subject X? Um, let's just so if people are not okay with talking about subject X, well, maybe you shouldn't be talking about it anyway. But if you've not agreed to it, then it results in people tiptoeing around it and not knowing. So get it out into the open, clarify things, say, are you okay with this or are you not? And then yeah, once you've done that, then we can be like, okay, this is exactly what we're going to do. And then now we've got the guidelines, now we can have fun and do all these things. I think that is basically what we're talking about. Um,
Indeed.
and
We have a lot of questions, so
should we start
before
getting to the questions?
in the chat, I don't know if we go right away into the question. I had
Sure.
something else I wanted to say. Yes, about tone and calibration. The first time calibration was talked among between LARPer, it was about calibrating, negotiating different LARP culture and expectation. So this is something you can do with your co-player at the beginning of the LARP, or even with your organizer, saying, this is what I expect from my group, this is what I expect from my plane. What are we going to do? How do we ensure that we can do this? And also that you have fun, even though our character are, for example, in a quarrel or not happy with each other. Calibrating each other's expectation mean being able to do compromise, but also ensure that everybody gets satisfied or just have the opportunity to do their thing. And calibrating conflict means that you can choose to play to lose in certain interaction, or you have a certainty regarding the outcome of certain conflict of certain element. And for a lot of people, it's very important. But for example, for people like me who hate uncertainty, who can't handle it because I'm autistic, and uncertainty is something that makes me have meltdown sometimes when I have too many options and I don't know what the end would be. So this is very useful to make sure I am emotionally safe and feel emotionally balanced regarding the LARP and the outcome of my action. But question, I don't
I
hear
mean,
you.
do you, but I'm not sure that completely. So whether there's a set of guidelines that most LARPers, whoops, So we've got the Consent and Community Safety Manifesto, which I will. And is there like an agreed upon thing to say, hey, this is the way it should be? And do people ever actually sign something? Is what Alan
So
is asking.
yeah, so do most LARPers agree to those set of guidelines? I don't know. Most of the people I play with agree with it, and most of them, I believe, are signed some kind of manifesto, some kind of. But this is not something you sign. This is something you take by acting on it, by being as safe as you can, by understanding that sometimes you can make mistakes that can upset people, and then you take the time to reflect on your action, because nobody come somewhere as a safe person. We are not safe because we live
Hmm.
in a society. Sorry, we
I
live in a
mean, there are
society.
tools, there are physical tools, and there's verbal agreements, and
Yes,
everyone says, okay, yes, we agree to this. Or there are guidelines that I think possibly we definitely need to talk about, things like the X card, things like the door is
yes,
always
indeed.
open, and we should get to these um, for sure. Maybe we can answer the questions and then go through back into the guidelines and then come back to the questions, if that
Of
seems.
course. But when you are perfectly right. When you enter a lab, you agree of the code of conduct. So you agree to respect the anti-harassment policies and the trigger warnings that has been put there. When you enter the magic circle as a LARPer, you agree to respect those rules and you know what you are coming in. This is one of the rare space where what you are going to do is transparent to you. The
Hmm.
organizer says, hey, this is a LARP about that, and this is the rule we are asking you to respect.
Alan Outson asks if health and safety experts are ever brought in um, to an organised LARP event. I know that because I had the privilege of working with King's College London along with Sarah Jury. Sarah Jury was started a project and brought me on as a co-designer, which was really nice of them. And I guess, because I'm able to do some stuff. But anyway, so Sarah King's College London did actually get some professionals who are being a lot, well, everyone as parts of that project was being paid because it's King's College London. Do you know what I mean? And so this is not the normal state for Nordic LARP. And in fact, it was their first LARP that they had ever done. And they had the facilitators, the people running the art space, the gallery, myself and Sarah, we were given a project fee for the entire project. And they did actually have people, even for the playtest, to say, okay, in this space, we will have these people who have gone first aid training. And so people who are and also people who are really familiar with mental health and kind of making sure that everyone is okay in a little timeout zone where people in this LARP, anytime they wanted, people could come out, and we made sure that for every country there would be two people. There would be a governor and a vice governor. So these are very important. Honestly, you could only have one of them, but if you had one of them and then they left, the game would not be good. So if you have two of them and then one of them left, the idea is that the vice governor, honestly, from a game design point of view, the only reason we had a vice governor was so that if the governor wants to leave, then they can go for a break. They can go to the timeout zone. They can sit down and have a chat and say, hey, I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable with what I'm doing in this game. I'm feeling bad about how all the xenophobia that's being portrayed. And so, yeah, this is a game about how laws and legislation affect gender identity. That's what the LARP was. It was, and it was called Challenging Structures. Anyway, so sorry, that was my take on it. Now for your turn to answer the question.
Yeah, not in most lab. However, I'm what we call a safer. So I'm someone who is in charge sometime of emotional safety in lab, and I've been trained by therapists during 2 day. No, it was only 1 day. To how to handle emotional safety, or to handle crisis during an event. This is not the case of everyone, but my association took the responsibility and the opportunity to pay 2 therapists so they could train 15 people in emotional safety during 1 day, so we learn how to handle crisis during events, especially during LARP, since we are a LARP association. And we are only a little association from a little city in South France. Well, a big city, but still not Paris. So, so this is something that can be done, and I believe it has been done in other contexts with other LARPer in other cities.
And I know that Alan said that for the weekend games nowadays suggest that the organising team has a specific person to take care of people who might have emotional difficulties. It's not about whether, and I'm reading a little bit into what you've written, Alan, emotional difficulties, it's going to be anything. That could be something that's generated through the course of play, or that could be some lingering trauma that re-arises. It could be anything. And Alan and everyone in that community is lucky to know people with training in this area. And I think this is super important. If you are running an event, you need to have some people on staff. I mean, UK Games Expo does this, and because things do happen, because sometimes someone does something in a normal role playing game, or ultimately all these events are for the benefits of the people, and for maybe it's entertaining, maybe it's informative, maybe it's a valuable experience, but at the end of the day, the safety is of the utmost concern. And yes, this mechanism has been used effectively. Now, Alan Outson's third question was, do you know if the police have ever been called into a LARP?
Yes, they have been called. Even in the lab I was in at some point, I have been doing playing that lab that was very unsafe because the main organizer was unsafe and he didn't believe in safety, and at some point someone was really drunk on site and assault other people. But it wasn't the one time people were assaulted at lab. I have been personally assault. Sorry for anyone who have trigger. I'm going know that I'm going to talk about assault for the next 2-3 minutes. And so this OSA stuff, this main organizer, at some point people start talking about the fact that the lab was unsafe, that especially female lab felt unsafe in this context, and we start talking about it publicly on the Facebook, the lab page, the lab Facebook page, and there was an enormous backlash on the people who talk about it, and the main organizer said something like, "Show me police report, otherwise it didn't happen," and stuff like that. So that means some people like me had to go to the police and report harassment or assault that happened years and years before. So I'm not going to go into the detail of the protest, but you must know from the news and the context that it was a narrowing process, and that I went out of that I exhausted and feeling very low about myself, to say the least. So I went through all this, and I sent my report to the main organizer. And today, the people whom have assaulted me and assault all the players are still running free at that LARP. But the players had a breakthrough, and today there is an emotional safety team at this LARP. But it is not put by the organization. It was the player, and it is still the player who provide a safety room and a safety team during the LARP, and this is not okay. So this is like the worst example. But yes, police have been called at LARP before, but maybe not at LARP who have a safety team and who can handle themselves. Which do not mean in a good LARP someone need to report something and you call the police, you don't handle them yourself. But that means maybe you have less case of problematic behavior in LARP where the main organizer and the team provide a safety environment and a culture of care and trust. Because from the basic, the French LARP community has a strong foundation of if you don't have a good experience, it's you, the player, that is to blame, not the organization. And we are trying to change this. We are fighting against this, and we are trying to uphold better behavior and community safety. But this is something that is going on as I speak. So as we speak together, so this is not something that is done right now.
I'm very sorry. I didn't realize there was such a terrible atmosphere in France, and yeah, that is really shitty.
It's okay. We are, as I said, I'm part of a community trying to work on getting better about that. So we are. This is for me. It's an hopeful situation because maybe in 5 to 10 years it's going to be better. People will realize that having safety mechanism and having a safety team does not impede them from having fun, impede them from playing on strong team. And once I realize that, it will be okay. Once I realize having a safety team and a culture of safety actually enables them to play on a more edgy side. I'm sorry, English is not my first
No,
language,
no,
so I
that's no. In English, there's like almost a term for people called edge lords, where they want
yes.
to, where there are some GMs, and I know there was. Okay, I'm going to throw up the banner again. Um, so there was. I don't know if you are aware. Sorry, where's the banner gone? I should put it up. So I don't know if you're aware of the UK Games Expo debacle. I think it was last year. It might have been 2018. Basically, someone had to get banned because they played a role-playing game with content that they did not warn anyone about. And so, just to explain, there was in this game there was a very strong implication that you were, so it was meant to be some sorts of yeah, hey, here's like a comedy, and then at some point there was a strong implication that you had just suffered sexual violence puts upon you. And so, yeah, obviously this upsets lots of people who were playing, and then there are meant to be guidelines of what you play at UK Games Expo. Now, this is a clear example of the organisers saying this is the content that we want to have, and but even when you have rules in place, people are going to go against these rules. And the key thing is you need to have rules in place for what do you do when someone goes against that. Now, I mean, I don't know why I'm leaving this sad banner up, because I mean, in some ways, like, this whole topic is about what happens when things, well, A, how do you stop things from going wrong? B, how do you ensure the safety? How do you prevent um stuff? I'm just going to, I don't know what I'm doing with this banner. I'm just going to leave it up for the whole show, because it is, but it's also about like, when things do go wrong, because things will go wrong occasionally. It's just the reality of the world that things go wrong. And so when things go wrong, you have to have mechanisms in place to fix them. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, indeed.
Um,
Answering this question is very complicated. I know me alone, I can't answer how do we provide safety and how do we fix it. But there is a lot of community working on what do we do when a wrong has been done to a member of a community. And there is grief circle, restoration circle, where instead of banning the people who have done a wrong, we welcome them in our circle and we said a wrong has been done. Now we need to restore the relationship. Now we need to understand that you are angry and you don't understand how you could do something bad. And both of you are right, for example. Because when I'm I'm absolutely for banning someone who repeatedly acts in a wrong behavior and who is unapologetic about it, you
or
know?
even in the first instance, if they, I think there are circumstances where even one example of wrongdoing can and should result in a ban. But this whole notion
Yeah.
of what is appropriate retribution and what is appropriate, I would like, if the more we talk about this, the more I'm realizing the breadth and the importance of this subject, and the more I'm realizing that one show isn't going to be enough to talk about it. I feel
And
like
it's okay.
not just with you, but maybe even we have someone else. Let's get back to, yeah,
Yes, we can
we
always
need
have,
a clear code that specifies
yes,
actions against breaches. That's what helps.
that
So,
help, but also, as I said, about banning, it can be done and it should be done in certain circumstances, but knowing that you ban someone from a community just means someone who is unsafe and who doesn't understand what they did wrong are sent to go to another community where they'll repeat that behavior. And this is my personal opinion on the subject. And I've been assaulted and I've been in very, very complicated situation in LARP. I still believe educating and education are one of the means to prevent a repeat of bad behavior. It doesn't work on everyone, and surely when you are victim of an assault of a or an inappropriate behavior, you shouldn't be the one doing the educating part. This is why a safety team is there. Because when you are the subject of an harrowing experience, you shouldn't also be the one doing the emotional labor for the
of
person
course,
who put you in that situation. But let's answer the question
I
you
would
you
like
were
to, if we can, maybe, because I'm realizing that this is almost like an introduction to safety. So, Alan, the question about virtual cons, let's come back to that in 5 minutes or so, because let's take a step back, if that's okay, LolV.
Yes.
And I would like to ask you, can you give a list of some of the techniques that can be used?
There are a lot of technique and tool and calibration open to whomever want to make its lab more safe or safer or whatever. However, not all can be used for every lab. You need to design your lab and your calibration and safety technique together to make sure to implement something that will work with your other mechanic and with your team. That being said, you always have a safe word. A safe word is an extra diegetic
Hmm.
um, word that you can use to signal that a situation is wrong and that we need to stop. It has been popularized by the BDSM community, but it also can be used in a lab. There are a lot of safe words known, such as cut to say stop this immediately, and break to say, hey, I want the situation to de-escalate. And you can of course use a non-verbal safe safe words such as or P when someone is misgendering someone. You can say, hey Brennan, you
Okay.
misgendering someone. There is correction marker for people misgendering, for example. Um, there is several techniques that you can use without breaking the scene, such as the OK check-in technique. Like in scuba, like when you go scuba diving, you do an OK sign. This is a question answer signal. So you do that towards someone who look in distress or too quiet or isolated. And if the person doesn't answer, this means the situation is wrong. So you do that, and you have several options at that moment. Either the person answer, and then you proceed depending on the answer, or they don't answer, and then you take them off the scene. And in
So I
answer, you
know
have
in scuba
three.
diving,
Yeah,
if you've got a problem, this is the to say
you have
I'm
three
not good.
you have three options. Yes, I'm okay. I don't need any follow up. I'm just playing the scene while I'm crying. I'm not okay. I need to get out of this scene immediately. Or I'm not okay, I need to get off game. Or I'm not okay, I need to stop the scene so we recalibrate. And so I don't know which an organizer or another player had to interpret as, okay, you need to get out this scene. Because when you're not sure, you might as well be in distress.
Hmm.
So this is the OK checking technique that has been, and the thing that is amazing with this technique, it can be used among players, so everybody can use it to ensure safety among the community. And it's often the case during lap with very strong team. Everybody use the OK checking to be like, hey, we are playing a scene when I'm emotionally abusing you. Are you okay? Yes, no problem. Go on. And that's taking me toward another way of signaling things. There are, of course, vocal safe word, as I said, and they can be calibrated. So you can say you have the signal safe word, where you said
Hmm.
red, orange, or green, depending of your level of distress. Green, I love this scene. Please go ahead. Orange, can we de-escalate the situation? Red, stop this. I need to change subject. Of course, there is the X card. that you mentioned before, when you say, hey, this subject I'm not okay with, I want to change it. There is there is a lot of techniques, so I'm passing through them a bit. There is look down technique. I'm looking on the ground. I want to get out of this scene, and I'm leaving the scene, looking on the ground. This is also a technique called see no evil. There is so many technique. I will link you. There was during Stormul Kunta this year. Someone did a review of all the technique known in LARP, which have been used to ensure and enforce safety. So I will send you a link with that, and you can put it on your page later if you want to, because it was really interesting. But there are really many techniques. There is tapping, for example, like you tap on your hand or on yourself when you are doing a scene with someone, indicating I need it to go slower or you are hurting me.
I mean, more broadly speaking, though, all of these techniques are under the umbrella of physical gestures to a communicate with other people without breaking character. And like if we take a little more holistic view of it rather than going for every single thing. So firstly, either we're checking in with someone, are you okay, without verbally asking, are you okay? Because the point is, if I verbally ask, are you okay, that can be interpreted as my character asking them, are you okay? Because that's the way it should be. If I'm playing a LARP, if I say, are you okay, that is not me as a player asking the other player. And so that's why we need these meta techniques, as you said, safe words that, yes, do come from maybe the BDSM kink community, and a lot of verbal signals, just like the timeout or see no evil where you walk out. But then there's also other techniques that aren't to do with this communication, but I guess we would have, so that's the stuff that happens during, but then also there's the empowerment, like you say, the door is always open. The fact that you can say to a player, okay, let's make sure that no player character is vital to the game, like what we did in the challenging structures. Okay, there's a governor, every country needs a governor. Okay, we'll have a vice governor system and make sure that if the governor needs to leave, the vice governor has exactly all the same information. They are following along, they are like a team. And if one of them needs to head off, well, that's not an issue, if you know what I mean.
Yes, this
And
is what I do in my lab. You know, I talked to you about True Color before in the show, and I wrote True Color with a open door policy saying to the player, hey, if you need to leave for whatever the reason is why you need to leave, you don't need to take me into account of the other player. You can leave if you need to. That's the thing. The door is always open,
and
and you can come back if you want to.
I mean, I guess the other techniques that are used are not mid-game techniques, but pre-game techniques. Like kind of just to clarify, what are we okay with, what are we not okay with. Um,
Yes, we can calibrate or trigger warning or things that we don't want to play on together before the game. But it's always okay to further calibrate during the game, because sometimes when you are tired or
of course.
upset or you have been playing for 2 days, you realize I actually don't want anything physical anymore. If I
Hmm.
can if I can get a little example, if I can use a little example and be specific, during a LARP called Conscience by Not
Don't,
Only LARP,
oh, do you
we
want the
were
warning?
no, it's okay. We
Okay.
were wearing two kind of ribbon, saying we were wearing a ribbon, a white ribbon saying I'm. We were wearing two kind of ribbon. One ribbon was saying I'm okay to play on sexual stuff, and and another ribbon was saying I'm okay to play on physical act of violence. and we were pinning the ribbon on ourselves visibly, and we were welcome to stop wearing them or start wearing them whenever we felt like it. So if you start a scene or you start today, you feel like you can do anything, you wear both ribbon. But maybe 2 hours later, you have been through a lot and you just want to stop playing on physical violence. For example, you stop wearing that ribbon. That means the player themselves are in charge of their own safety, as they can state their own boundaries at any time. And it's okay during a LARP to restate, to take a little back of I'm not able to talk anymore. To take a little time to yourself, to step back and take a moment to check with yourself, see where you are, and then go maybe recalibrate with the co-player, saying, I don't feel okay with the way you are playing, and I need to steer the narrative towards this ending to feel better, or I need to put this storyline in the to highlight the storyline because I think we should have give more power or more place to this room for this narrative to unfold because this will make me feel better.
And having these symbols that show exactly your current state of mind, because I mean, again, going back to the notion of consent, I guess yeah, it's so obviously it's so important, not just after a LARP but after anything. And it makes me feel like okay, this is like in the yes, we need to check in during the thing and say, hey, are you okay with this? Like, it doesn't mean that every 5 minutes you check in with literally everyone. It just means that if you are, you know, if there's any reason for someone to, I guess, pre-game, like there's two sides to it. It feels to me, okay? It feels like there's 6 axes. Okay. This is my new theory. So there's self-empowerment and then there's other people checking in with you. Do you know what I mean? So
I
there's
know what you mean.
other people. Great. So I'm not expressing myself terribly. So we've got like 3 lines. We've got before, during, and after, and then we've got yourself and other people. So like that makes the 6 boxes. And so yourself before, you should be saying, hey, this is something that I'm not okay with. This is liable to come up. Or hey, you know what? Given the tone of this game, actually, I'm not willing to play this. And before the game, it's down to you to kind of take that ownership. But then for sure, for the other people, it's down to them to say, hey, this is what's going to happen. And to ask. And so it has to be a two-way thing, if you know what I mean. Then mid-game, there has to be the communication and the are you okay? Yes, I'm okay, or those kinds of things, or hey, you got their pronoun wrong, or hey, we need to change this, or hey, break, we need to slow down slightly. But at the same time, there's also the empowerment aspect. I don't know what empowerment there is mid-game other than, maybe it's being able to put up that signal to express yourself with the ribbons that you're talking about. And of course, being able to leave if that is a thing that the game can at all support. Then post-game, you've got the debrief. Now, it's down to you to say, hey, this is something that I didn't feel okay with, and kind of sharing that and kind of expressing yourself afterwards, but then also down to other people. And it's all about the personal ownership of, we can't expect everyone to interpret everything. And so we do have to take a little bit of emotional labor of at least saying, okay, I'm not okay, I'm going to remove myself from this situation. At least having that. And even if you don't want to talk about it, saying, hey, I don't want to do this and I don't want to talk about it. And of course, other people have to respect that. But yeah, it feels like to me that's the. And then afterwards, we've not really talked about the debrief at all, because in LARP, I think in any big thing, like when Alan, Paul, and I, last Tuesday, we chatted for nearly 3 hours about UK Games Expo to say, hey, how was it for us? Let's look at other people. And yes, that debrief is from more from a business point of view, but it fits a similar thing, which is to say, hey, there's this big thing that's happened. Let's just talk about it and check in. Hey, how was it? And there was a similar thing with Jason that I chatted to on Friday a couple of days ago, where we're like, okay, how's everything gone? Because, yeah, but wait, so what do you think? Is that a model that people have talked about? Does that make sense? Does that help at all?
That makes sense. And this is similar to models that have been talking about before. Today there is a lot of article and different method of safety that have been made public by the community and the writer of the safety mechanism. But there is still things that we need to analyze and take care of when we talk about safety. For example, we need to take into account the different marginalized community when we build safety mechanic, and when we design LARP and when we write about it. So there is still a lot of take to be made regarding safety. But you sum it up quite nicely. There is what happened before, what happened after, what happened during, and it's all about our relationship with ourselves and with other. Because even when the community acknowledges that people are more important than play, for example, our first responsibility is to make sure that we set healthy boundaries, that we realize, I'm actually tired, I should take a nap, or this scene is upsetting me, I need to get out right now. Or I think we need to check with ourselves first, always.
I I think that this might be, to be fair, I don't know the history of LARP, but I feel like it has progressed a lot in the past recent decades, if you know what I mean. Um,
Yes.
and yeah, this LARP is becoming more and more something that can make people feel really hardcore emotions. And sometimes those emotions are good. Sometimes you want to watch a sad film and really cry. Sometimes you want to play a LARP and feel like, okay, there's this terrible trauma, and you get a little taste of, okay, this is what, because it pushes our boundaries. It teaches me, okay, this is not. I'm not going to say I feel what life is like for the people whose characters I played, but I have a vague sense of what it's like to be incarcerated for many months. Because I played a LARP where it's a mixture. It was almost like a interactive documentary, and I don't know if you know this one. Oh my gosh, I can't remember their name, and I really don't want
The
to get.
quota?
Pardon?
The quota?
No, this is. It was only run once. It was by At the Smoke. It was let let's skim over the name, but it was like a documentary sort of, like they had slides, they showed slides telling us a little bit about, okay, this is how meant these places were during this time, and then we were playing these characters that's and we so being committed to psychiatric wards. Maybe I should have put up the thing, but the point is, during that game, you know, I'm not going to say that I felt what it was like to be in that situation, but I felt a snippet, a tiny glimpse of what it was like, so that maybe that will help me as a person to empathize more. And this is amazing technology that we have. And by
Yeah,
technology, I just mean something that was invented. And to be able to really simulate things with the mixture of slideshows and action and okay, now you need to act as this character and this is what's happening to you. Um, and so, yes, these things are super valuable. I don't even know what my why I started saying this story or what my point.
you were saying. I think you are trying to summarize, sum it up by saying that LARP was transformative,
Oh yeah,
and
that
it's a tool for empathy. And you are right when you talk about that.
um. So it's not by Mohawk or it's by someone who lives in America. Let's totally skim over this. Um, let me get to a lot of the comments because I think it's time. Jerome says, would you call that a game? If people tell me this, I have a hard time to see this as a game. It depends what you see as a game. If you see a game as something where you make decisions and then there's a measure of success, no, role playing is not a game. If you see games as needing a measure of success, which is explicit, even if you. So, Richard, sorry, do you mind if I take this question,
No, take
Olby?
it.
So,
I don't have the answer.
Richard Garfield talks about ortho games, ORTHO. Look up that video. An ortho game is a game where basically make decisions and then there's a measure of success. And most packaged board games are an ortho game. Now, you've also got um, games where there is a measure of success, but maybe there's no decisions. Stuff like Snakes and Ladders or Candyland. Um, some people say, is that a game? Now, people would say, okay, a story game, is that a game? Like Rory's Story Cubes, as played, is that a game? An RPG, is that a game? Now, I don't want to go to this whole discussion. This is a discussion that, a question that would take an entire episode to answer. But I would consider all of these to be under the gamut of game because I think that a game is something where you choose to do it, so you're not obliged to do it, so it's not life. If I had to define game in like 2 minutes, I would say an activity that you choose to do, that's the first criteria. And secondly, that you feel like you have some control over it. So I subscribe to the Mark Rosewater method of thinking. That means that Candyland and Snakes and Ladders can be a game for the young child who thinks that they have some control over it because they think that they have control over the dice or whatever. But if you do not believe that you have control over it, then in your mind, um, that's a game. Oh, Jerome was talking about the trauma stuff. And yeah, relating to that, sure, there are games, again, within the board game space, we've got Billy Care, sorry, Holding On, The Troubled Life of Billy Care. And so there are even board games. There's things like This War of Mine. There's a lot of indie video games nowadays which are not about very serious topics, which and so I think that the point is that game does not mean that it has to be all about joy and that the emotions that you are intending to stimulate do not necessarily need to be joy or excitement. I think that games can stimulate such things as fear or worry or anxiety. And as long as that is a thing that the person has chosen, I think that it can still be a good game because I consider a game medium analogous to film, if you know what I mean. Whereas some people consider a game like a genre. So people would consider a game almost analogous to comedies or action adventures.
Yes. I was thinking to answer this question about the three the three type of fun. Have you heard about that? So we
Do you
talk
mean
about.
hard fun, easy fun, and social fun?
No, I don't think so. There is type 1 of fun when you have fun, you have clearly fun, and this is what you have intended to do, like taking a road trip with a friend. Type 2 fun, you are taking the road trip with a friend. You have narrowing experience because you have a lot of difficulties, but in the end, you feel that this is quite good and you have learned a lot. This is type 2 of fun. And type 3 of fun is you had a narrowing experience, you are just exhausted, this was awful, let's not repeat it again,
Mm.
ever. I will send you a link about the three type of fun. It's very interesting.
And the point being that what you're saying is that even having the harrowing experience can be considered fun.
Yes, because fun is
So maybe we're reframing.
you will laugh about it later. You will you will remind yourself of it fondly,
Hmm.
as it was in the end quite a fun experience. After all, do you remember the time when we go to the store and we realized we have forget our wallet and someone stole our car? Yeah, you know
Yeah, I
that
see
kind
that.
of
So it's like fun
experience.
in retrospect. But I
Mm-mm.
mean, maybe we can reframe the word fun because I hate the notion that a game has to be what is commonly called fun. And
Mm-mm.
I hate how um, a lot of mass markets games frame themselves as hilarious. I mean, this is actually games that are trying to be fun, but they might be engaging, they might be stimulating. I mean, Rory's Story Cubes, imagine if that said, oh, the hilarious, zany new game from Rory O'Connor, it's Rory's Story Cubes. I mean, that would be total misrepresentation. It is joyful, it is fun, but it's not hilarious. And even taking it a step away, a game doesn't have to be fun. A game has to be a worthwhile experience that tells the players what's going on so that they can consent to it. And then the thing that the game says this is going to happen, then it delivers that experience. For me, that is a good game. Um, Now, let's go back to all the questions. And unless you have something that you absolutely need to say here, LolV, sorry.
No, I think Alan has a point in the comments. So regarding serious game.
Hmm. Serious games don't have to be joyful, but can be fun without any smiles and laughter. I mean, I feel like the word fun is still kind of what's the word? It still has the wrong connotations for me, at least.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, escape rooms are stressful. Escape rooms are invigorating, and yeah, Alan Alton wants to just clarify type 1 fun is just fun before and after. Type 2 fun is it's fun after. Type 3 fun is never fun.
Yes, you have a narrowing experience. It was awful. Let's never do it again. Type 3 fun. I will link you that article, Bez. I can see that you are struggling.
Um, I feel like yeah, for sure. Feel please do that, and I can maybe or puts it as comments to the Facebook and YouTube after the fact, because then everyone else will be able to see it as well who watches the video will be able to see those articles. Going back to the questions, Rome says, I hope there are safety words like no play if something really is going on, and we talked about the cuts and the break.
Yes. Often there are specific safe words such as, for example, in my game, the safe word is quite simply, I need a pause. So you can say it in character, but everyone know, okay, let's stop the scene.
And Alan helps to run consequences. Everyone actually has to sign up. So they have to actually sign something. Um, our organizers are always comparing our policies to others.
That seemed quite nice. I would love to sign the policies when I enter LARP.
We have Alex who says, "Do you think the magic circle can be problematic? Because when you say I think what Alex is getting at is that there's this notion that what's within the LARP is totally different to what's out with the LARP, and I can shout at you and be a terrible person within the LARP, but that doesn't mean that I am a terrible person outside of the LARP. And in its best situation, that allows me to play Vampire the Masquerade and be a Bruja who's meant to be very argumentative and shouty because that's not the person I am. So it just allows me to explore a new aspect and play a character, and everyone's okay with that. But at its problematic step, I think that, well, Alex says it gives people the remit to be transgressive. Do you have any answer to this?
My answer is, of course, people use a character alibi to do horrible thing and are not unapologetic about it, and this is not cool. I mean, it's not cool that some people will use LARP or character alibi or the magic circle to have problematic behavior. That has happened, but that has happened in other contexts too. So yes, the magic circle is not a magic healing potion to problematic behavior, sadly. That's my answer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it
And
can be problematic.
the final question, which was the really big one, which gave me pause, was how do you manage safety in virtual LARPs? Have you played any virtual LARPs, LolV?
Yes, several, and I'm still playing several LARP.
And particularly, how do you monitor safety concerns, such as specific triggers within the game, or provoked by player action?
Most of the time, the character when I've played several several online lab, when we were writing the character, we made the character transparent, so people were aware if they were gonna play with someone or were gonna play some character, what was this character's trigger, and so they could decide if they wanted to play the game or play the character or play with a specific person during the game. Once the game are using camera and microphone, we can still have a vocal safe word. We can still have visual safe word or check-in. And I've played several games that were online labs that still as the policy the door is open. And most of the time the facilitator and other organizer were also enacting safety and present as safety facilitator. But this is a new area, so we will learn how to manage safety better as we
It
go,
strikes
I
me
believe.
that one thing about online LARPs, surely you would have different channels of communications that you can do simultaneously. So you could
Yes.
say, okay, stuff in this channel of communication, maybe if we are, talking, let's say right now, we were playing the LARP of, okay, I am a news
Dragon.
reporter and you are my, oh, I was going to be like a news reporter
News reporter is perfect. Go ahead.
and
But you can be a dragon news reporter. Nothing forbids you to being a boss.
okay, so maybe I'm a news reporter and I'm drunk. Oh,
A
oh,
dragon, a
oh my
dragon,
god.
a dragon.
Oh. Oh, a dragon. Oh, so I thought you said
Sorry.
drunken. I was
No.
pretending now that this was cider. I've had 20 cider. Ah, now so today we have scorched over everything in humanity. How does humanity feel about this? To report, we have the troll, LolV.
Well, Well, I believe humanity is feeling very crushed right now by our report. That's what I believe.
So, like the point is that right now, we only have one channel of communication because we are performing, we are streaming, and I'm going to pause that for a moment because this is not Loserpalooza, much as I did actually watch the Sherlock Holmes opera. Thanks, Sate, for telling me about it. I watched a tiny bit. I watched like that section this morning, um, but yeah, it whilst you're doing a online virtual LARP, we would be chatting here, but in the meantime, we would have like another maybe Discord channel or something where I could say, hey,
Yes.
I'm actually feeling really horrible, or I need to, and then maybe you would see that, or a messaging system, which,
Yes. Like WhatsApp or Facebook group.
and so, yeah, it feels to me like we can use the same techniques, like, the little timeout symbol, but, yeah, it feels to me like because we have multiple channels of communication, we can do things even better. Glad.
Yes, but there is a lot of in this kind of game you can still use the X card, you can still use safe word, you can still use multiple channel like a specific room where you can talk with the safety team. So as you said, we will discover as we go, but the rules are quite the same as when we play face to face.
Yeah, I think that so I think it's about time for us to wrap up. I chatted with a bunch of people and we decided that I'm going to try and start wrapping up about 75 minutes, 60, 75 minutes in. And going forward, just for people who might have missed Sunday's show, it doesn't mean that when I have, especially with one time guests, or if there's like a topic that it feels like, okay, this is immensely timely, we have to, we can't talk about it. It's like there might be an exception where we do talk a lot longer, but for the most part, I'm going to try to stick to under 90 minutes and wrap up around the 60, 75-minute mark. Now, I think, yeah, I wrote this bit. It's important that your real self is always physically and emotionally safe, even when your character is suffering trauma or being killed. How is this ensured? We've given a lot of examples. So, if we kind of look back, we've defined safety as basically ensuring that the real person is okay, even when the actual character might not be okay because these are two different entities. To kind of, if bleed is the notion of someone who is sad in character being sad in person, and bleed is a thing that we really want, which, bleed is great, then safety is making sure that it doesn't go too far, that the emotional trauma that a character suffers is not going to impact someone's life. And then I put forward, like, we've got to think about what we're doing before, during, and after, like with a bunch of people, with other people, with ourselves. And LolV talks about so many great, symbols, if you can, like the okay thing
Okay,
and the
check in.
eyes
Look
down when you
down.
need to. And so how can it be good? I mean, is it always good?
I think safety can be good for multiple reasons because it's if it's well done and on the foundation of a culture of care and trust, it enables player to go further in their play to place on strong team while feeling safe and while making sure everybody in the game gets their play and are satisfied as much as it's possible. So I think it allows us to go deep in play and have a transformative experience.
Yeah, and giving us the liberty to say, okay, this is okay to talk about. And yeah, having that transformative, powerful, emotionally charged experience whilst ensuring that no one goes away damaged from it. Um, can safety be bad? I mean, people talk about it interrupting the flow of the game. I know that you need to think about these things carefully because if you say the door is always open, you need to make sure that there's no character that the game lynches upon. For example, if in the game that I was going to write, but I basically put on um, indefinite hiatus, there needs to be a therapist who's kind of almost the main character, but then all the other people are going through this therapy session. And then the therapist, if they go out, okay, you could have a team of therapists. That's one way to approach it. Another way would to be, okay, like maybe the therapist is run by the moderator and then they can do all these things simultaneously. Or maybe you have I've been to group therapy sessions where yes, there's two or three people sitting at the front and giving us this information, and there's like some people wandering around, so maybe it's like a class of 30 people who are all feeling not great about life. And then maybe there were like three people who were wandering around and telling us, okay, how are you doing with this exercise? Because we're meant to be doing this exercise in little groups of two or three. And so I have gone through that. Anyway, so that's a bit of a tangent. But the point is that in reality, there are multiple people. So we could say, okay, maybe in this fiction, we have even 4 group therapists, because if you really need to have one, if this is the thing that makes the game fall apart, if they are not good, then maybe you have multiple of them, so that if one of them needs to leave, you can't give too much emotional labor to the player. But yeah, how do you ensure that it doesn't mess up the game? And is there any other pitfalls that you might run into with safety?
So the thing is, the safety mechanism only work if they have been well implemented into your lab. So you need to design a lab and the safety mechanic together to make sure that everything works together. So of course, if you say the door is always open, you need to make sure no character is absolutely vital to the course of the game. Other pitfall is your safety mechanic are only as effective as your safety culture. If you don't build a culture of care and trust, people might not be aware that safety mechanism exists and might not want to use it, or might use it too late, or might use it in the wrong way. Safety mechanisms are used and need to be used to ensure player safety, and but not to escape a bad ending for your character or to escape play if that doesn't go in where you want to go. If I mean, it is not a tool for your satisfaction, it's a tool for your safety, your well-being, your empathy, but it doesn't have to be used to make sure that you are not a winner. You are the
Mhm.
winner. Because this is not about winning, this is about ensuring everybody
Yes.
get to play.
I mean, these kinds of story games are about, yeah, there is no winning. If you come to a LARP or a role playing game or a storytelling game with the notion of, okay, I want to win, like I in the L deck, there is one game that is probably not a game, which is Fable. And yeah, I know that there's some people who've told me that they really don't like it. Some people say this is their favorite game in the deck. And at the end of the rules, it says the condition for winning is if anybody is happy, you all win. Now, if someone takes that literally, that means that they just need, even if everyone in the group is not happy, they just need to find one happy person somewhere in the world, and then they all win. So, but the point is that what I meant was that what do I even put in a rule for winning? In some sense, because I have it for everything else, sure, let's do it. What is the goal of winning? It's to be happy. But even if you're not happy, maybe you made someone else happy. Maybe you allowed someone else to have a good experience. Maybe um, it's all about having this collaborative shared experience that you're all working towards, and you're all building this wonderful story thread together. And then maybe a time later you'll be like, oh wow, do you remember that time that we shared that story about X and Y and Z? And people go, yeah, that was wow. And anyway, I want. Oh, your home says that they never knew about this type of game, and thanks for introducing this topic to them. You're very welcome, and thank you, LolV, for coming and sharing your expertise. Your home says, I don't know what play app means. I assume that's some sort of messaging. Basically, for the YouTube video, I'm going to share a link in Twitch, and if you follow this link, it will ask you if you want to subscribe to me on YouTube. And then if you subscribe to me on YouTube, I think it kind of tells you when a new thing goes live, which right now is probably not when you want to know about it, but it might also tell you when I'm going to go live, when I've set something up. But you kind of know I'm here at 10 a.m. every day, except for sometime. To be fair, I'm also sometimes, like on Wednesday, I'm going to have a stream where I'm testing games. But anyway, you can see it there. And also, if I get 37 more subscribers, then I can have a name, and then I don't care about subscribers anymore. Generally, I just want to get to 100. Yep. Alan Paul says, thank you very much, LolV. Very interesting and helpful to my understanding in preparation for November. I assume that it's going to have to be digital. Oops. And do you have any final tips?
Yes, maybe. People are more important than play. Make sure to design your game while being considerate and kind. Your experience might not reflect on other people's experience, especially when it comes to marginalized community. Always check in with yourself as a player, as a designer, as an organizer. You can, during a lap, feel a lot of tiredness or hunger. Take your time to check in and take care of yourself always. You are more important than the LARP. What else? Building a culture of care and trust only work if you care for yourself. So once again, learn to say yes enthusiastically, say no when you don't want to do something, understand when other people say no, and set healthy boundaries for yourself.
I love everything that you've said, and I think that what you said about you are more important than the LARP, I think this is also such a big thing for life. I think that this whole culture of safety, of emotional and mental well-being is such an important thing. And throughout life, we are more important than this moment. We are more important than the project. And I think that obviously this relates slightly to me deciding, okay, I'm not wanting to write this thing yesterday evening and then speaking to you about it. And for those who don't know, LolV, we got together through a sparring program where LolV was a mentor to me because I was trying to write my first solo LARP. And whilst I didn't come out of it with my first solo LARP, I did come out of it with an amazing friend, I guess. And but it's yeah, so yeah, it's saying, yeah, you are more important than the thing, because you are more important than the project. If you need to take some time, even you are more important than the moment. You can't always be giving yourself to other people. You need to take care of yourself. And I think that is pretty much all the recap we have. And so thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone who's joined in the discussion today. Thank you, Alan Alton, Alex, Sate, Alan Paul, and yeah, Huome. It's been lovely. And most importantly, thank you, LolV.
Thank you for bringing me here to talk about this subject that matter a lot to me.
You're very welcome, and genuinely, I'm looking forward to next time. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I'm sure it'll be awesome. And yeah, that brings us to the close. If you want to check me out, yep, I am stuffbybez.bitcartel.com. You can also, I should actually add my other link. Sorry. Oh, I need to put up your Instagram page specifically. Oh, you've. Okay, so this is LolV's. How would you like to be found, LolV?
I use Instagram on specifically Sparkly, so this is what I do. And one day I'll have my own website, but until then I am on Instagram, and you can find me and talk to me there.
Okay, I've finished typing now. So stuffbybez.com is my main website. Stuffbybez.bigcartel.com, where you can buy my stuff. Twitter.com/stuffbybez. It's where I tweet a lot. Instagram.com/stuffbybez. I post pictures of games I played or pretty things I've seen. Twitch.tv/stuffbybez for the streaming. Facebook.com/thingsbybez is a thing. And stuffbybez@gmail.com if you wish to email me for some reason. And that is the end of our wrap up. And yeah, looking forward to hopes and ambitions. It's over to you for this final section. And here's where I invite everybody, whether you're watching this live, whether you're watching this after the fact, but if you're watching it live, feel free to share it with everyone or hold it to yourself. It's entirely your prerogative. Something that you're looking forward to. Maybe you're looking forward to a little thing that you're going to eat after this show. I don't know, like I've not eaten, maybe you've been eating during the show. I don't know what you're up to. I can't see you because I don't have cameras in your house. I mean, seriously, I don't. I don't even really have cameras in my own house except for this one on my laptop and the ones on my mobile phone. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of cameras now you think about it. Anyway, so yeah, maybe you're looking forward to something that you're about to do later today or some tomorrow or whatever. I am looking forward to. Am I really looking forward to? I'm not that fussed about eating after the show. I might. I do have to have a big cycle for reasons. I might just skip my breakfast, lunch, and go there, and then have bubble tea, and that might be all I eat today. And then, but I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I'm hoping to catch up with social media because there's a lot of messages on Twitter that I've not responded to that I feel like I should respond to. And I'm hoping to catch up on some of the emails that I've done. And I'm looking forward to seeing Chris and McCall maybe later today or doing something nice. We will see. Today I'm going to definitely have a bit of an evening off, and that is me, and I am see that yeah, we have an excellent so LolV, what are you looking forward to?
Uh, I'm looking forward to seeing my boyfriend, who will come to visit me after 1 month when we didn't see each other. And maybe this time we won't have to social distance too much. So I see him on Friday, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to working on my game and give it into the smoke and to the Make a Scene Festival.
The what
I'm really
festival?
looking Make a Scene Festival. It's a festival in Minnesota.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Yeah, I first write True Colors after answering a prompt for from Make a Scene Festival.
Sounds awesome. Um, we've got people, just to clarify, going back a little bit, Sates wanted to invite you on for a talk show sometime, which I would
Oh,
definitely like to do. So this is the busy art time chat where, yeah, I draw and then Sates chats to guests about board games life and the intersection of the two. Um, so yeah, if you're up for that, I think that you said this is the final Monday that you can do.
yes.
Unfortunately,
Mm, it was my
we
last Monday.
and you're going, but we will have you back on a Wednesday
Yes.
for this morning show. But it occurs to me that Wednesday is the only weekday that you're free going forwards now. Or
Yes.
could you be free on another day this week potentially?
No,
Oh,
I have sing every day this week because I need to prepare for getting back at work, and everybody who want to see me knows that I'm not at my parents or at my grandmother. So it's a lot to take care of, and activism also.
I hope that
Sorry.
you do enjoy it. Still, I hope you're looking forward to being back at work. Um, yeah, except I'm where yeah, let's do that again. Alan's looking forward to an excellent adventure at virtual conventions in November. Um, yeah, consequences will be virtual. Xate is looking forward to doing their first unboxing video for work. Yeah, work.
Yes.
And so that is pretty cool. And congratulations again on your job. And a shout out to Quality Beast, who and then yeah, that is everything. I believe if yeah, please feel free to share, spread the word. Obviously, this stays up on YouTube and Facebook. YouTube is more shareable if you feel like this discussion was worth more, worth sharing with other people. Um, with future streams, please tell me if you have a guest that you think would be really good for the show or a topic that you would like us to explore. I know that there's some shows with Alan and myself, or well, some of the topics that we are happy to take suggestions, whether it's something a little bit more philosophical, like the games we do, or whether it's something more design or theory or whatever. But for my actual next streams, where's my okay, if I just look at my calendar, tomorrow I'm talking with Dina about marketing and community building. Maybe we'll just spend a whole hour talking about what that even means. And yeah, then tomorrow at 8 p.m. UK time, we're going to play Q for You and something else that I've still not decided. And I should probably decide today. Um, what on Wednesday, I'm going to be meeting Simon Caruso, who is the artist. And I say meeting them, but I'm going to allow you all to meet them and basically ask Simon Caruso literally any question. They are very open. They are a lovely person, and I'm excited to share Simon with all of you. And 1 p.m., basically sometime after that, it's 1 p.m. ish. That's a no. Remember, the testable streams are the ones where I'm going to aim for 1 p.m., but I don't guarantee it's like the way that with the 10 a.m. if I don't think I've ever been more than like 2 minutes late. But 1 p.m. it's going to be myself, Chris, Layla. Hopefully, Layla will get one or more of their housemates so we can finish playing all of the final L games that I have been really amazed to see all the input from everyone. And so thank you to every single designer. Um, hmm. Alan's going to have a fun day doing something I haven't worked out yet. Um, Not 1 p.m., please. Can you do 2 p.m.? No, sorry. As much as I love you, Xate, I'm not changing the entire structure just for one person. I mean, honestly, you can see the first hour after the fact anyway. Come on board and watch a little bit of the end of it. You know, we'll be going for like a good few hours because we are playing 4 games and we're going to have all the discussions about it. And then if we have time, we will play, the games that we misplayed. And yeah, I've been chatting to people. But anyway, that is the thing. There is only one thing left to do. Do you have anything left to say, LolV, or have we covered everything?
No, thank you for having me. Thank you all.
Well, then, for now, the only thing left to do is to sing bye, bye,
Bye
bye,
bye
bye.
bye
This
bye.
is a goodbye
Bye
song.
song.
Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. That's true. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show.
So,
Bye, bye,
bye
bye,
bye
bye.
bye
And
bye.
now it's time to
It's
go.
time
Do,
to
do, do, do.
go.
Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye
Bye
song.
song.
Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.